All right. Hello, everyone. I want to talk about my journey with Linux. So, I started out on, I guess you could say, I started out on Debian, and I switched to Tumbleweed, and I enjoyed Tumbleweed for a bit, but ran into problems with it. So then I switched back to Debian because I was comfortable there and I enjoyed it. And I ended up making my own repo so I could basically install Debian from scratch and then just literally set up everything. And I learned a window manager and I fell in love with the functionality of a window manager. And this is clearly Windows, and I'll get to that in a second. So I enjoyed my time with Debian, and I made scripts and everything, and it was great, fantastic. I gamed on it; it was fine. I even found out that I can do custom kernels, and it improved my performance just a little bit on Debian. Then I switched to Arch, and I continued to install custom kernels, but I realized that the Arch kernel was, good also, just by default. I set this up. This is my dotfiles and installation and tutorials, all here that you guys can look at. I'll link all of these. This one still works good. The Debian one I think works good. I haven't touched Debian in a minute, but I think it works good too. This will I have a setup installer script thing right here, and it goes through and then it links to other scripts under the scripts folder, which check what GPU you have, install the correct stuff for that, install applications, everything gets set up and configured, all the proper dependencies you need work. The thing is about this though is I customize this. My main focus with the Arch repo was it is i3 specific. So it is not going to install any other desktop environment. It is only i3. And that's what I liked. And I enjoyed it because I like a window manager. I got really accustomed to this window manager philosophy where I spawn a window and I can move my said window and I can adjust my said window and I can move it down and I can move it up and I move it all over the place. And then I liked with i3 that I was able to move things. I was able to move my windows around, no big deal. This is very, very nice. But the longer I use Linux, the more, because I play video games a lot, and Linux does play video, with Proton, with the help with Proton and Valve, Linux does game really well, except for when you're completely locked out from a game, but due to anti-cheat. There's COD games, you got Apex now, Fortnite. Some of my friends play Fortnite sometimes. I just feel like I'm continuously losing. Grand Theft Auto 5, can't play that online anymore. I just feel like I'm continuously losing. And yeah, I know the argument that there's plenty of awesome, cool games. But the thing is, it just doesn't fit my time. Because all my other friends are playing all these other games. I feel like I want to, I get don't feel left out. Go play your own single player games. I get it. But if I'm using an operating system, I want to just enjoy my time. I don't want to suffer. And I will still love Linux and I will still use it on some computers. But if it is a gaming centric computer, I'm probably going to use Windows at this point because I have made this dot file section called WinGlazeDots. So this window manager you see right now is called Glaze Window Manager, and it uses a bar up top called ZBar by default when you install it. Now, because I'm a Linux user at heart now, I like the idea of installing applications through the terminal. So I'm also using, which I know you have Scoop, but I'm also using Chocolatey to install all my applications. I made a list of all my main applications, all my CLI applications, CLI meaning terminal, all my, there's additional applications which I think some people might want or some people might not want. Power Toys, if you wanted Power Toys. Cura, this is a 3D printing software. I have some security software, security-centric software, and password software and VPN software that I install and use. I use Molvad VPN. There's VMware tools. VMware is like the best virtual machine. Oh, excluding the one on Linux, which is Virt Manager. That one is, to me, better than VMware even, but that's not available on Windows, so you're stuck with VMware Player, which is fine, honestly. And then you have some of my other CLI tools. This is meant for building applications, building and installing some applications, which I know that can be kind of specific, but these are the main ones I know of that I use. So like I can git clone a repo, and then I can make it, and I need this thing for some reason to build. This auto dark thing I'm not using really. And then some of these other applications are not provided by Chocolatey, but some of them are on Scoop. So if you want to use Scoop, which there's not enough applications on Scoop that I'm willing to just use Scoop. Maybe I will eventually. I don't know. And let me say that if you go and install, so you see how I'm like snapping windows, like I'm resizing them. And I can make this floating and drag it around and then make it back. So if you go and download Alt Snap, which is what I'm using here at the bottom, to hold down Alt and left click to resize, and I'm sorry, not left click, right click to resize and left click to move it around. Move it where I want. You have to I made a thing right here. It's like build from source, but you don't actually have to do this anymore. You can just go to the Alt Snap release page, and there's a pre-release right now for 1.6.4 or 1.64, and you can install this, and it will give you that functionality, because currently with the latest release, it doesn't work well with Glaze Window Manager at all. So like you would resize these windows, but it wouldn't auto snap the other window. It wouldn't resize the other window or move it correctly. Like if you went to move it, it would not move it correctly. So that fixes that functionality, and that makes this experience basically i3 but on Windows. Now another thing is, I really liked my top bar on i3. I used i3 Rust, and it was just excellent. Like I got it to a point where I was so happy with it. But now, because I don't use i3 for my main gaming computer, I am stuck with ZBar. And honestly, like I haven't figured out how to get like applets up here. But if I could figure out how to get applets, man, it would maybe be about good, but it's still not great. Like, I mean, it works. Like, as long as it works, I guess, whatever. But like, it's super hard to theme and stuff. I've seen some dotfiles, and it looks insane. Like, I really want a simple, easy to look at, easy on the eyes, which I've gotten it to the point where I think it's okay, but it does look kind of plain and more like the default, almost like the default. So, like, I mean, I'm probably going to change these to, like, just white color, honestly. This right here is the direction. When you click this guy, then it spawns them at the bottom. If you click it again, it spawns it to the right. You also can do Windows Shift R, and it does resizing. So whenever you have a window open, Windows Shift R, you can use your arrow keys to resize them. And then you can hit Windows Shift R again. Oh no, sorry, you hit Escape. That's confusing to me. You hit Escape, and then it exits out of that. And then you also can Windows Shift arrow keys to move the window. Windows or Alt Control to resize the windows that you're focused on. And just holding Alt, you can see that I change focus between windows. So it is like straight up normal i3 behavior. The other thing I noticed about Glaze Window Manager, which is amazing, is that I set it up the bind. If you have multiple monitors, which I'm only using one at home, but you could do like Alt, Control, Shift, and then AD to actually move your current workspace to other monitors. Was it AD? No, I'm sorry. Windows Control Shift. No, wait. Windows Shift. Windows Control. I'm sorry. Windows Control moves between workspaces. One of them, I think it's arrow keys. It was like Windows or Alt Shift Control and then arrow keys to like move the workspace that you have active to other monitors, which is cool if you want to change the order of things. So let me go into here. So this is the directory here. I use micro to edit my files because I'm used to it with Linux. But so you see how this, I'm in the user directory. I'm using user Dylan. So if let's say I was in like I think it's a system. What is it on Windows? I don't remember. But basically, this if you're not in the C area, you're not in your C drive area, you want to be back here. You know what? Let me just show it for simpletons. Because usually I would do like this, and then I would do Dylan, and then I would do .glzr, and then I would do Glaze, and then I was in this directory, then I would micro into config. But because I know most people are not that into CLI, I'll just show you the normal way. So this is a file explorer, so you go to this PC, C drive, you go to your users, you go to your name of your account, you go to .glzr, and then Glaze Window Manager is right there. And you can use like Notepad++. I use Notepad++. This is the best editor on, on Windows, in my opinion, for just text files. So in here, you can go through this and read everything. So you can change some things to true or false. I have focus follow cursor, which kind of breaks functionality with some programs. Like, see how when I hover over the file explorer, it makes it the active window, and then I hover back over this. That is normal Linux behavior, but it does kind of break functionality of some applications, like specifically like AutoCAD applications. It can be kind of a mess to deal with. So you might want to just turn that to false. I think that might be the only thing you really want to truly edit in my config. But you also might want to change some of the gaps a little bit. So you have like the inner edge gap, so in between the windows here. And then you have the right side gap, which is all the way on the right. And then you have the bottom, and then the left, and then the top. And the top, of course, has the biggest gap because you have this bar up top. If I had this top at like 12 pixels, the applications would be underneath the bar, which is no good. That you need like a bigger gap at the top. Okay, so you can change color of like active windows. You can also like this is buggy as heck. Don't hide your title bars in Windows. It gets kind of buggy, and also like it takes away some functionality, which can be important on Windows. I like this corner style. You can change the corner style of all windows. I like square. I don't want rounded. I don't want round. I want it to be basic square. Visual effects of non-focused windows. So these windows that aren't focused. Corner style. I do want to be square. Like I just said, I like it to be consistent. I don't really care about seeing a border on Windows, but this is like a gray. This A1. It's like a gray. Hide title bars. Of course, I don't want to hide title bars. If I were like on an inactive window, it would be hiding the title bar, and then when you hover back over it, it like spawns it like, and it looks real glitchy. Don't do that. Window behavior, default window behavior. You can make this floating if you're used to it and you just really want to just change workspaces. You can make it floating. So when you spawn your apps, it will just spawn the app and it won't like tile it. But I've kind of made it easy. So like if you have an app that spawns, you can just do Alt F and it will. So see how it tiled back. But then when I do Alt F again, it makes it floating. So that's easy to me. And if you want to do like you want to make the application full screen, you can do Alt Shift F. So it makes the whole application full screen. And then you do Alt Shift F again, and it brings it back. Now, one thing I noticed is that if you do Alt F again instead of Alt Shift F, it looks like the application is still full screen. This is something that's a little weird. You have to actually do Alt T to make it tiling again. So you just do tiling, and then you can make it floating again, and it's normal behavior again, back to normal behavior. I don't know why that is. I might need to do a bug report on that. But that's like the only thing I've noticed truly that's kind of iffy. But as long as you know that Alt T brings the app back to tiling, it's all good. All right, so state of floating windows, whether the center of floating windows by default. I leave this false, but you can specify some applications that you want to be centered when they go floating, which is cool. I'm about to get to that. Whether to show floating windows on top. I like to show windows on top because that's how it works in i3. Like it is very consistently any windows that are floating are on top. Full screen, I don't know. I think like if it doesn't actually have a true full screen, it'll try to full screen it anyway. That can actually break some your mouse inputs if you're like in a video game and you try to do an Alt Shift F. I would try to avoid doing that in a video game. Whether to show full screen windows as always on top, yes. I don't know why you would want a full screen window and then have another window on top. I guess there may be some use case for that. These are my workspace names. Now on my Linux, I was able to add like icons, and I just kind of matched what I got on my Linux on this, but in words. So like number one, I have like a flame on for my first workspace. And number two, it's like a browser icon. So I put browse. For number three, it was like a chat icon on Arch Linux and Debian. Now I just put VoIP. 4 is game, which my Steam spawns on, and then like Itch and Epic, those clients spawn on those. And if you were using Blizzard's launcher, it would also spawn on there, but I don't install that one because all the games that I play on that are through Blizzard are already on Steam. So whatever, I don't install Blizzard client. And then you have music. Spotify will spawn on that workspace. You have chat. I only thing I'm spawning on that one is Telegram. 7, I don't think I'm spawning anything on dev, but I would assume like if you were on dev workspace, I mean, you can do whatever you want with any of these workspaces. You can go change the names. So you can change the names however you want, and they'll show up on the top here, just like how they are. And then 10 is record, which is where OBS usually is, which is where it is right now. Edit, I think I have video editors on the edit workspace. Video editors, photo editors, like Krita, GIMP. And you have work, which I'm just currently putting like Teams there whenever I work from home. So now let's get on to the window rules. Okay, so this is cool. This is some functionality in i3, and it's actually a little bit, it's kind of the same idea. So I use Windows Spy++, which I installed through Chocolatey. And you can, so you can drag this little thing onto a window, boom, and you go to the process, and this Notepad++ is the name you're going to use. So if you want a specific application to spawn on a specific workspace, you set it up how I have it here. And you can just use my config and edit it per that. It's going to take some time to get a good, edit of what apps you want where, if you're wanting to change it. I mean, some of this I have, like, you actually might want your like browsers to be on workspace 1. Just go change all this stuff. You can even remove these. So anything with a hashtag thing is just a note. Like, it's just a note of what it is. Which might not even be needed for some of this, but I have it there anyway. So you can just look through there here. So, like, of course, Moonlight spawns on workspace 1. Moonlight's like a client that you can connect to another computer to control it, is what I use it for. I kind of use it like a virtual connection, remote connection program, because it works the best for me. Chrome, LibriWolf, that's like Firefox fork. And then you have Discord, spawns on workspace 3, and Steam, so on and so forth. Number 5, this guy right here. So Spotify, and then Fission. Fission's actually not in Chocolatey repo. You have to install that on the GitHub. You have to install it through the GitHub. Through GitHub. So all these guys down here, let me just skip through this. You got this. See how I'm talking about, like, you gotta use that WinSpy, because, like, if I were to assume OBS was spawning, like, what the name of OBS was, I would just assume that it's just OBS, or open source broadcasting software, like the full name. But no, it's OBS 64. So you're gonna have to use Windows Spy ++ to figure out, or you probably can go into your task manager and then figure it out that way also. But Windows Spy or WinSpy ++ is like way easier. All right. So some of these other things. So you have ignore. So any application that is ignored will show up on all workspaces. So that's why ZBar is here. ZBar, I want to show up, of course, on all workspaces. I want this bar up here, like on everything. And then, so this guy, this one, I think this is like, I don't know what that is. These are defaults. So this stuff is default. Yeah. So, and then now I added these. So I set floating, flow launcher. I use flow launcher to run my apps. You see this thing that pops up. I do Alt P for program, which I'm used to because it is like DW. That's kind of how DWM works. And that was one window manager I started out with. And I just really like the keybinds for it because it worked out really well for a gaming system, I guess. So a lot of my keybinds are DWM inspired. So you got the finals right here. The finals, I noticed, I will probably add more games if I discover more games that are kind of buggy with Glaze Window Manager. But like, you have to make it floating, and even when you switch back and forth to it, if you're trying to use a custom res like a 1440p, or no, so 1440 by 1080 like stretched 4:3 res, and you switch to it, it gets like real glitchy and buggy. And the only solution I found was to do, first off, to make it floating. So set that program to floating, which the name of it for some reason is Discovery. I don't know why. And then when you focus it, you might have to switch back and forth, and then you might have to do Alt Tab. The other alternative is if you want to go play the finals, just do Alt Control Shift K, which will kill Glaze Window Manager, and then you won't have any problems at all, other than the fact that now your window manager is not working. This is the other thing I don't really like about ZBar is you can like highlight stuff up here, and it looks kind of janky. Ear trumpet. So I'm using ear trumpet to spawn a mixer up here, which is cool. So Alt V, I set it up for Alt V, kind of neat. And I made it where it floats, floats at the center. So it's floating and it's centered. Otherwise, it would be like tiled, like that. Like it looks terrible. All right. What else here? Some of these are binds for like resizing. Some of them, like, these are like Vim binds. Some of these are Vim binds. I I use the arrow keys most of the time. I just left some of this default. So I use Alt for my inventory in Fortnite and Apex, and I like to be able to use Alt. But the problem is that sometimes when you use a window manager and Alt is your main key to move around, your workspaces, sometimes you accidentally hit it. So the alternative, which I had a different alternative on i3, but the alternative is to just pause Glaze Window Manager. So it used to be like Alt Shift P, but I found that was kind of hard to hit the P perfectly every time. Like Alt Shift is fine, but hitting the P was like, dude, I'm in the dark, and I play in the dark because sometimes I want to play on my CRT and it's better in the dark. Or I play like with anyway, I play in the dark. So sometimes I can't reach that P, or like I can't find it, I guess, because I'm in the dark and my keyboard doesn't glow, because I don't like glowing keyboards. But yeah, so Alt Shift Z I found was very easy. Like that's as easy as it can get. So I hit that button, and then there's another one down here. This one, I don't remember what both of these do, but they work together somehow. And so when you hit Alt Shift Z, it will pause your window manager function. So if I do Alt Shift Z and I try to, which look, it interacts with this, but I can't switch workspaces, which I know you guys can't see it, but I can't. Let's open this back up. Oh geez, what did I do? Let's make it floating again. Unfold all, sorry. Okay. Okay, so anytime you make an edit in here also, remember that the reload button for reloading Glaze Window Manager is Alt Shift Q, which I know is weird. And then closing windows is Alt Shift C. If you want to rotate these binds, feel free. These aren't typical binds. Most people would prefer Alt Shift Q for quit instead of Alt Shift C for close, which, I just prefer Alt Shift C for closing windows. And I also refreshed my i3 with Alt Shift Q, which is not normal either. It's usually Alt Shift R for reloading the window manager. But yeah, I got so used to Alt Shift Q with DWM that I kind of kept it on i3, just bad habits. And now I'm keeping it here because I'm just so stuck with it. Alt Control Shift W, this guy right here. So it's not necessarily needed, but if you do have some sort of weird glitch where a window isn't rendering correctly, that could help you in a pinch. Alt Control Shift W, which is not something I've noticed. Like I think it's been pretty good, but yeah. The Alt Shift or the Alt Control D and A, that's how you can just switch workspaces without the numbers. Kind of could be helpful. Alt Shift Z, that switches to your last window or your last workspace. So see how I can switch back to 2 and 10. I'm not hitting 2 and 10. I'm using one hand. So Alt Control Z, that can be helpful for when you just want to switch back between workspaces. I added this like window manager redraw because I was trying to get the whole like don't show title bars working, and this fixed it. Like the window manager redraw command fixes it when you switch workspaces, because it was like some windows you'd have to redraw. You'd have to do that Alt Control Shift W to redraw them. So I added this, and I'm just kind of keeping it because it doesn't seem to slow it down at all, and it's fine. I don't know. It might actually like help with regenerating some workspaces for specific programs, very specific programs, which I can't name. Okay. So these are just typical. Oh yeah, that's how you move workspaces. Alt Control Shift left, right, up, down. So that moves them between monitors. Oh, and it says it right here. Parent works that focused workspace essentially to a monitor in a given direction. So you can move it. You move that current workspace that you have open to other monitors, which is so cool. I don't think I could do that on i3, but I really didn't use i3 on more than one display. Move focus windows to a workspace. Yeah, so Alt Shift 1. So if I wanted to move this, let's say to in this behavior, I set this up a little bit differently. So Alt Shift 7, I can move it to there. So it's in my def now. See, it's there. And I can move it back. Alt Shift 2. And then Alt 2 to go back to this. So the way they have it set up by default is when you move a window, it also brings you to that workspace. And I don't like that behavior because I'm not used to that at all. I feel like it's very foreign for an i3 or for a window manager in general, is for when you move a window for it to also bring you to that workspace. I felt like that was way weird. So I looked in the config, I was like, oh, and then this was the first thing I edited. So yeah, it doesn't move you to that workspace when you move a window there. Because sometimes I just want, like, I have a window up and I'm like, dude, I don't want this here. Bam, it's gone. All right, so I'm gonna keep working, and then if I want it back, I'll just go back over here and then bring it back. So yeah. All right. So, and I'm not really gonna go over ZBar. A lot of this is like, God, I hate ZBar. But yeah. So I'll put my repo in the thingy. So these are just pictures. So a lot of this you can't customize with like a terminal. Like you can't make or as far as I'm aware, I can't make a script to do all this stuff. And there's so many applications anyway that I'm changing the settings for, that I don't feel like it's worth doing like a script, because I think it would be, oh man, I don't even know if I can even do it. So I just put photos of everything I'm customizing. So this is the if you read the title, it's ear trumpet bind. So like ear trumpet, which it's not gonna show. So like, oh, see, there you go. You have to like customize it in here. The other thing also is, see how I move my mouse to the bottom of the screen and my window is or my Windows taskbar is hidden and it's not popping up. I prefer that behavior because I don't really need the taskbar for a lot of things other than my applets down here, which I can't figure out how to get working in the ZBar. So they're down here, which is fine, I guess. I guess it looks a little less cluttered and I can just show everything down here, which is kind of nice. But this buttery taskbar 2, which I provide the link in the install software section all the way down right here. You can go here and install this program and it will enable that behavior so your taskbar doesn't show up. But you'll have to go, when the applet shows up down here, you'll have to enable it and you'll want to make it auto start, upon login. So that's just a photo for that. Open launcher, so that's the Alt P for Flow Launcher. Don't run this bat file yet. I need to work on this guy. Don't run on this. I don't even know if I'm gonna do this. Like I've been thinking about like using Tiny 11, Windows 11. Because I do want a more stripped down version of Windows, but I have kind of broken my functionality right now. I think my Windows update isn't working. So yeah, I'm gonna have to reinstall Windows eventually, but that's what this is all for. I set it up, I set my OS up, and then I sometimes have to reinstall because I break stuff super badly that I can't figure out how to fix. This section right here is if you want to run specific games at a specific custom 4x3 stretched resolution, and there is not a solution without some weird messing around to get it to work. So with Apex Legends, you have to add this in your launch arguments, which I need to say that this is a launch argument. I'm not saying that. But also, I provide, like, you go here for your video config.txt, and you have to change these values. And then when you launch Apex, it'll be 4x3 stretched, and you don't have to think about it. That is very nice and fun. Taskbar behavior settings. So these are just settings in here that I turn on so the taskbar acts how I want it to. I also go into my visual effects settings down here, and I show scroll bars. I show scroll bars, and animation. I turn animation effects off. It's up to you, whatever you want to do. These is all optional here. I was killing Explorer with Flow Launcher. You run these commands to kill Explorer, and then if you wanted to start Explorer again, you run this. But I didn't realize when I was doing this and testing it that my background stops working. And that is like literally the only thing that's stopping me from just killing Explorer. Like, otherwise everything works. The other thing is that ZBar, if you don't have Explorer.exe running in the background, then your ZBar will not launch properly. It's like it relies on Explorer.exe for some reason. But if you kill Explorer.exe while ZBar is running, there's no problem. So that's kind of weird. That's why I added this start one back. So you can start it, and then you can restart Glaze Window Manager if you're trying to test things. I also had it where, like, I was trying to set up where with Glaze Window Manager, it would kill up here. The start arguments would kill Explorer.exe, but it wasn't working. And I don't know why, and I couldn't figure it out, so I just abandoned this. I'm just leaving it here in case I find some other reason that I might need to kill Explorer. But you can just ignore this part. Honestly, I might delete it eventually. Who knows? So yeah, that's my my Linux journey right now. I'm sorry, not Linux journey. That is my journey in general. So I went from a Linux, where I was on Windows for a long time. I went to Linux. I loved Linux. I still love Linux. I set up dotfiles for my Debian. Then I moved to Arch because I'm like, you know what? I'm ready to start anew. I'm ready to get better at Linux. So I made Arch, my Arch repo, and then I was told that, hey, this is all really super, super complicated. Can you make it automated? So I worked with ChatGPT for a few months. Look how many there's 485 commits here. I worked with ChatGPT for a few months, and then made all these scripts here. And then what made me push to go back to Windows was Apex getting banned from Linux, and I made a post about it. Let's see. Oh, I'm not even logged in. It's leaked. Post about it back. Oh yeah. So I made this post. And now I'm on Windows, so it's not much to it. And a lot of people, some people are like, oh, why would you switch to a non-private operating system? They're gonna harvest your data and all that crap. And I'm like, honestly, I just want to use my computer. I just want to enjoy my time. I just need it to be a tool. I gotta do things. I gotta get stuff done. Some things on Linux just don't work. So it just takes there's so much bunny hopping. You got to jump around hoops. It gets wild. And like I enjoyed my time with it, and I got to a spot where I'm like happy. Like I was happy. But if these devs, dude, if they're gonna keep jumping ship because of anti-cheat, I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel bad about it. But on the other hand, I do use Windows for on my PC at work, and I have to because Autodesk programs. I'm a CAD drafter. Autodesk programs don't work on Linux, so I'm really happy that I did this, to be honest, because now I can enjoy my games. I can enjoy my time. I have a window manager. This window manager works amazingly. There's all these tools that have been made, make Windows a breeze. I honestly don't think I would have been able to truly switch back to Windows without these tools. Like Glaze Window Manager, like huge props to the dev, dude. This piece of software, dude, is honestly like when I discovered it, and I'm like, I can do this, and worked into the config. Like it makes me emotional, honestly, because I don't want to leave i3. Like I don't want to leave the workflow, and man, it is just awesome that I'm able to continue to use my computer the way I was on Linux. So yeah, that's it, I guess. I hope you enjoyed watching. I hope you learned something. Please go look at this thing and try it out. Try this out, and if you like window managers, or if you found anything in here that you think is cool, specifically, I mean, this is the coolest part to me. This is so cool to me. It's Windows, and it's a window manager that is working so cool. Yeah. And the fact that I can just like go straight to here, look at my music, go straight to this, go to my Discord, go straight back, go straight to one. Like, dude, I can't leave this workflow, man. It's just too good. All right. Well, I guess I'll stop there. Hope you guys enjoyed watching.